My name is Zenobia Harris, and I am the CEO for the Kent Chamber. And Tuesday was my 5th year. I celebrated my 5th year with the Chamber. Awesome. So we have a really great program for you today. I am super excited. We had 76 people register for this breakfast. This is the largest breakfast. How you doing? This is the largest breakfast that we've had to date. And so I just want to say I thank you guys so much for trusting in our ability to choose some great speakers and have interactive, networking available to you. And so I'm just going to start by thanking our sponsors for this event. I want to thank Amazon for being our presenting sponsor, as well as Around the Clock Inc., which is also our 2024 president, Suzanne Cameron. So we're going to clap for Amazon and Around the Clock Inc. Also want to say thank you to our vendors that are here all of the time. So if you are not new to the Chamber, you know we believe in the power of a good photo and a good video to allow folks to engage after the fact. And so thank you so much to Andrew Crane for his wonderful photos, and Scott and Teresa Schaefer with I Love Parents. I want to introduce our keynote speaker. Her name is Sherry Storm. Sherry Storm has been a member of the Rotary Club of Emerald City since 2006. She spent 16 years as executive at a credit union. She is now the CEO of a consulting company called Category 6. Her book, Motherhood is the New MBA, Using Your Parenting Skills to Be a Better Boss, was published by St. Martin's Press. With over 20,000 copies sold, it has been translated and published in China and was purchased for a publication in Brazil. Good to you. She speaks around the country on a variety of topics. You can also see her TEDx talk on her website, which is Sherry Storm. You can scan the code there and also be able to look at that. Sherry grew up in sunny Kennewick and now lives in Edmonds, Washington with her movie-making husband. We got to talk to him. Movie-making husband, 3 teenage daughters, God bless you, and a dog named Cedar. Help me welcome Sherry Storm.
I had been an executive for many years before I had children. I now have 3, Rebecca, Lexi, and Joe. And I found that once I had children, I was actually better at my job. I was a better problem solver, I had more creativity, I had more empathy, I could prioritize better. I was certainly a better negotiator. I found being a working mom to be something that was actually good for my career, which was the opposite of everything I had been told up until that point. And so I got sort of caught up in this idea that being a working parent could make you better at your job. So caught up, in fact, that I thought, maybe I'll write a book about that. Have any of you ever done that? You find a new passion, you think maybe I'll write a book, start a blog, podcast. This idea kicked around my head for about 2 years until I was at work one day and I had suspected that a coworker had done something. And so I asked her about it. And as she began to answer me, I looked at her and I thought, wait a minute, I recognize that look. Oh, I know that look. That's the look my 2-year-old gives me when I ask her, Rebecca, did you put your sneaker in the toilet? And she looks at me straight in the eye and says, no, I think it was Daddy. So look, she's when she's lying to me, right? And it occurred to me at that moment that human nature is human nature. Whether we're 2 or we're 92, we're pretty much hardwired the same way. And when you are a parent, you deal with human nature up close, unfiltered, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I thought, that's it. That's what I want to write my book about right there. So I pitched the idea. Finally, a publishing house got back to me and they said, well, we like the idea, but what we're in the market for this year is an advice book. To which I responded, oh my God, guess what? I love giving advice. As a matter of fact, next to my opinion, it's my favorite thing to give to other people. And so I signed a deal with St. Martin's Press. And when my book first came out, it got a lot of publicity. And the reason it got a lot of publicity is this. In our country, in our culture, the way that we think about, the way that we talk about, and the way that we teach business really revolves around 2 metaphors. And those metaphors are either battle or sports. And they are problematic because, number 1, they leave out important components like mutually beneficial outcomes, compassionate, caring, kind environments. But more importantly, They don't recognize women's relationship to and our role in battle and sports. Yes, we have very hardworking, talented soldiers, very hardworking, talented athletes, but we don't garner the same fame nor fortune as our male counterparts. If you use family as a framework to think about, talk about, and teach business, now you're using a framework that does have room for compassionate, kind environments. And it has women in very visible leadership roles. So, when my book first came out, I got a lot of publicity. And I loved it. I loved being a celebrity, I did. But my mom was totally nonplussed. I would call my mom up and I would say, Mom, guess what? I am in Time magazine and Redbook magazine this week. And she would say, uh-huh. And I would call her up and I'd say, Mom, guess what? I'm on the cover of the Metro News New York and I'm going to be on Martha Stewart. And she'd say, uh-huh. Finally, one day my phone rings and it's my mother's voice and she says, You're in the Costco Connection? So let's talk today about what gets done. So when I was writing my book, I was working at a credit union. I was an executive at a credit union, and I was sitting in an executive team. And the executive team was sitting around asking why the front line wasn't doing this thing what we wanted them to do. We told them to do this thing, and they were not doing it. Why aren't they doing the thing we need them to do? And our CFO, bless his heart, said, well, do we measure it? Because what gets measured gets done. And I looked at him and I thought, is that true? I mean, I've heard it all my life, but is it true? Because I know that I step on my scale every single morning. I have been measuring my weight for 40 years, and I have never, ever lost a pound. I take it back. Have you heard about this new fad, intermittent fasting? So I tried this intermittent fasting thing, and I lost 10 pounds. Who knew by simply not eating you can lose weight? At the same time, our kids were small. My husband and I were having a really tough time getting them to bed at night. This was a struggle in our household every single night. Little girls wouldn't go to bed at night. And so I happened to be watching my favorite show at the time, Nanny 911, reality show with a nanny who helps families have better kids. And that family that night had the same problem as us. The little boys wouldn't go to bed. So what the nanny did was she made a sticker chart. You know, sticker charts where you put the kids' names on the x-axis and all the things they have to do before bed on the y-axis, and every time they do one, they get a sticker, right? Oh, this spoke to me. This spoke to the businesswoman in me. Because what you articulate, what you reward, what you put your energy behind, that's what people will do, right? Yes, of course. So I went to the store, I got a poster board, I wrote, Rebecca likes Baby Joe, and I wrote, put your pajamas on, brush your teeth, say your prayers, read your book, go to the bathroom, drink your water, well, all the stuff before the bedtime, right? I was like, all right, girls, we're going to bed. That sticker chart was categorically a disaster. My children fought over the Dora the Explorer sticker. They lied to get, well, actually, I only have one liar amongst them. They put stickers where stickers do not belong. My husband's in the corner going, Sam, what is going on? Down comes the sticker chart out the door. The next night was my husband's turn to put the children away for the day. And I hear his voice in this room's room, and he says, I hear his voice, his deep voice say, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, my daddy says to take off your clothes. I was like, what the heck? I go down there, he has the girls with their feet in the middle, and he's doing that game we used to do when we were little, and he would land on one, and he would give her an assignment, and she would jump up, and she'd go and do it, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, brush your teeth, and she'd jump up, and she'd brush her teeth, and she'd come back, and she'd put her foot back in, and he'd do it again, and he'd tell another one to go grab a book and read the story, and they were laughing, and they were giggling, and they went to bed no problem. And it dawned on me that night, it's not what's measured that gets done. It's what's fun that gets done. People will do what they like doing first, most, and best. Conversely, they're not going to do what they don't like doing very well for very long. And that's what you deal with when you're the boss of other people. It's what you deal with when you have to get things done through volunteers. And it's what you deal with in your household and your relationships. It's what you deal with for yourself, too. So what do you do with that piece of information? Because I'm going to say this to you. It is not your job to make other people's jobs fun. If you try to do that, you will be a tiresome person to work for. But what your job is to understand those that you work with, what they like doing, what they do well, and what brings value. And then orchestrate an environment where they and you are doing more of those things. So how do you do that? Well, 3 easy things. Easy things, they happen to rhyme, so there you go. Articulate, orchestrate, celebrate. So the first thing you need to do is you need to be able to articulate what it is that the people you work with do well and like doing, and what they are good at. Now, a lot of people, probably some of you in this room, have not given this enough thought. You probably can't articulate it because you're not self-aware enough. And so what you need to do, what you need to help others do, is articulate what those things are. And then you need an orchestrated environment where they're doing more of their stuff and you're doing more of your stuff. Here's an example. When I worked at the credit union, I had 2 people that had offices right beside mine. They worked for me. We'll call one Jerry, because that was his name. We'll call one Terry, because that was kind of funny, I think. Jerry was one of these young men who loved to answer emails. Have you ever worked with somebody like that? Like you send an email and you hit send and they're in your office? And you're like, how did you do that so very quickly? Now, if you had asked Jerry, he probably would have said, I like to answer emails. But the fact of the matter is, he did like to answer. He liked that call and response. You have a question, I answer the question. You have a problem, I solved your problem. I don't have any messages in my inbox. Right next to him was Terry. She hated to be interrupted. Hated it. And I knew that because sometimes I would have to interrupt her. So what we did with Jerry was we made him the single source of truth. Anyone who needed data, a report, anything, it all channeled through him. It was, you need a report, you've got a report. You need a report, you've got a report. And what I did with Terry is I said, you can spend Friday afternoons, Friday days working from home, a long time ago. But you don't have to answer email, you don't have to have Slack on, you don't have to, you can work, you can work with your blinders on, the way that you feel most satisfied. You can go off to your weekend feeling satisfied with your job. Now, in exchange for that, Monday through Thursday when you're here in the office, when somebody walks into your office, you need to take your hands off the keyboard, look your coworker in the eye, and smile at them. Because that's what we do when we work with other people. That worked so well for Jerry. He did that job for 16 years. Terry did that job in 2 months. I mean, not 2 months. I did biograph in 2 months, but orchestrate, pay attention, and it's not easy. It's not easy, and you have to do it consistently and constantly. But think about what you like doing, think about what others like doing, and continue to orchestrate into that. Now, the second thing I want to share with you is it's really important how you celebrate things. The things that you celebrate, the things that you ritualize, those are the things that help you build a corporate culture. They help you motivate others. They help team build. They're so very important, and it's one of those things a lot of us don't pay attention to. I'm going to give you 2 examples of companies that I think do a really good job of this. The first company is Highlights Magazine. Are you familiar with Highlights Magazine? If you are not, quick tutorial. It is a magazine that is made for children. It has things like hidden pictures, cartoons, and small stories.
I was at a conference, speaking at a conference in San Francisco many years ago, and the man who was going to take the stage right after me was the vice president of sales for Highlights Magazine, which made me say, huh, it never occurred to me that someone actually works for Highlights Magazine. But of course they do. And so I was interested, so I stayed around to listen to what he had to say, and he was fascinating. So one of the things he said is it's actually very, very hard to sell Highlights Magazine. And the reason that it's hard is there's actually only 2 people in the universe who buy Highlights Magazine. Can you guess who they might? Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Grandmothers. Yes, grandmothers. Yes, sometimes people say grandparents. I'm like, really? No, grandma. Grandma's buying it. Grandma and who else? Dentists. I say dentist because it gets more of a laugh. Anyone with a waiting room. Pediatrician, dentist. So he has this sales staff, and their job is to call people and try to get them to buy Highlights Magazine, right? They're trying to get their nana or their dentist on the phone. He has this award. It's called the SWSWSW Award. It stands for some will buy, some will not. Someone's waiting for your call. If you have OCD, do not think about the acronym too very long. You get this award when 100 people in a row have told you no. When you have been turned down 100 consecutive times, there is a cowbell in the middle of the bullpen, thank you, bullpen, and you get up and you get to ring the heck out of this cowbell, and all of your coworkers have confetti guns under their desks, and they pull out their confetti guns, and they pull up. Pull out their confetti guns and they shoot you with confetti, and everyone hoops and everyone hollers for you. And then you sit down and you make your 101st phone call. And like this man said, any sales program you see will say we reward results, which of course makes sense on the surface. He said, I can't reward results. I need to keep people who are positive, resilient, optimistic, and can be told no 100 times in a row and still pick up the phone with a smile. He said, I need to reward effort. I reward effort. You should reward effort. Second one, Apple computer. Back in the olden days, if you had an Apple device that broke, you used to be able to take it to an Apple store. And in the back of the store, they had a counter, which they called the Genius Bar, and the person whom they called a genius would fix your device. Anyone experience this? Yeah. So a few years ago, I was at the Alderwood Apple Store, and the genius was working on my laptop. And after a while, he says to me, oh, it's about to get loud in here. We're having a tap out. I said, none of those words made sense to me. There was this thing we do on an employee's last day. Okay. Sure enough, after a moment, if you can picture a back door behind me and a front door in front of me, back door leads to the back of the store, front door leads to the mall. Back door opens, out steps a very managerial looking genius. He says to all of us in the store, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Mackenzie, who's not going to work at the Alderwood Apple Store anymore because she's going to Bellevue Community College. And he steps aside, and out come all of these geniuses. Apple stores are like clown cars. There are so many geniuses in the back, you don't even know. And they make 2 rows. And then, after a moment, out comes Mackenzie. And she starts walking through this row of her coworkers. And they're high-fiving her, they're taking selfies with her, and they're clapping. And the manager has all of us customers clapping because Mackenzie's going to college. God bless America. And it takes about 45 seconds to walk from the back door to the front door. And then she steps out, and that's her last moment of employment at Apple Computer. And I thought, now that is genius. Because your former employees, your former colleagues can be some of your best advocates, right? How do people leave you? Do they leave you feeling like they would come back if given the opportunity? How do they leave you after talking to you in a conversation? Do they leave you thinking that was a productive and positive experience? Now, had Mackenzie stolen an iPad, I'm sure there is a different door that we do not see. All right, wrapping this all up. So what I was asked here to talk about today is work-life balance. And here's what I'm going to say about work-life balance. There are going to be large proportions of your time when work-life balance doesn't exist. And so what I would recommend, instead of trying to find work-life balance, find work-life acceptance. And there's 3 pieces of advice that I will give you to find work-life acceptance. And that is, do more of the small things that bring you fulfillment. One of the things I think women do is we chase joy, we chase happiness, we chase serenity. Those things are too big to catch sometimes in our life. We can't go to spa days. We can't get a weekend away. We can't even drink wine on the beach because we don't have the time, energy, or money. So instead of having an all or nothing mentality, build into your day small steps, small tasks of things that bring you satisfaction or fulfillment. And they don't have to be big. As a matter of fact, they have to be small. They're glimmers, right? Number 2, manage the invisible work of women. The invisible work of women is the work that we do, like cleaning out the microwave. At work, it's buying the birthday cards for people who are going to have a birthday. It's the work that goes unnoticed, unappreciated, and uncompensated. It is also the work that often makes us feel resentful. There are 4 things you can do to manage the invisible work of women. Number 1, make it not invisible. Make sure people know you're doing it. Or number 2, empower others to do it. Figure out who you can orchestrate to be in that role. Or number 3, stop doing it. Stop doing it and be comfortable with the consequences. Number 4, rewire your self-talk, rewire the narrative, and tell yourself that you actually don't mind doing it. You actually cleaning the microwave is weirdly, mildly satisfying. Actually buying, when you're in charge of making sure everyone has a birthday card on their birthday at work, you're building your legacy of being the person who helped others celebrate milestones. Re-talk to yourself about why you're doing it and how you feel about it. Last thing is, this is most important. Believe in your heart of hearts you're doing a good job. Every single day you're going to let someone down. If it's not someone, it's yourself. Don't focus on that. Focus solely on what you accomplished. Believe in your heart of hearts you are doing enough and you are doing a good job. This is my motto up here. I start my day with a cup of coffee, I end my day with a glass of wine, and I just pray everything works out in between. And then I write down 6 things I'm going to do that day that give me small moments of satisfaction. Tomorrow, I am going to weed my yard for exactly 12 minutes. I don't have all day to weed that yard. I know the sun's going to be out, but I'm going to weed the yard. And then every single time I walk by that 1 foot by 1 foot square of beautifully weeded dirt, I am going to pat myself on the back and say, good job. You're a rock star. You're the GOAT. I don't know what the slang is, but I am it. All right. I'm going to leave you with, I have a few copies of my book for sale. They're $15. I can accept cash, checks, debit cards, credit cards, Venmo, PayPal, Bitcoin. Just kidding. I don't know anything about Bitcoin. But I brought with me today some to-do pads with that, what you see there. And for every person who buys a copy of my book, I'll give you one of these pads. So here is a chapter from my book. It's from chapter 12. It's called There's No Such Thing as a Family Secret. I got to do this. So when I was a few months pregnant with Johanna, who's my 3rd child, I had to pick up 3 of my vendors from the airport. They were going to spend a week at my credit union, so we decided to have dinner together on their first night in Seattle. As luck would have it, my childcare fell through at the last minute. My husband had to work, so I had to take my 2 young daughters to dinner with me. As 3-year-old Rebecca warmed up to the 3 men, she began to chat. You know what? She asked them. One time, Daddy ate Mommy's cookies that she keeps in her car for whenever she gets hungry. Daddy took her car to ski patrol and he ate all the cookies. And when he got home, she told him, no, just eat 1 cookie and then stop. And you know what? One time I threw up in the car in a bowl, but Daddy couldn't go to the football game because I threw up in the bowl. But one time, a mommy threw up in the sink. She threw up in the sink because she has a baby in her tummy, and it makes her a little sick sometimes. I didn't want my vendors knowing that I once barfed in my own sink. I really didn't want them to know that I have a stash of cookies that I keep in my car for whenever I get hungry. But I didn't want anyone to know that I yelled at my poor husband because he ate the car stash cookies. But if you are a parent of a child who's old enough to speak, you know that everything, but everything, is fair game for the telling. So my book came out when Rebecca was 6 years old, and I had a stack of them on the kitchen table, and I was making dinner, and she walked in, she pulled one off, she opened it up to this particular page, saw her name, so she started reading. Suddenly, she slams the book shut. She said, "Seriously, Mom? You told the whole world I threw up in the car?" And I looked at her, and I had the dreadful, overwhelming realization. My MBA business book is written at a first grade reading level. And that is my presentation. Thank you very much.
Again, hi everybody. My name is Annie McGrath, and thank you, Zenobia, for the wonderful introduction. And I just want to say thank you, Zenobia, for the invite today. I think that the fact that Zenobia reached out and asked me to be a part of this event is really in the true spirit of why we're all here this morning, and demonstrates just what I know to be true about Zenobia and everything that she does daily in her work. She elevates other women. She celebrates other women. She does not compete with other women. She collaborates and becomes a partner. And I know that I'm not the only one in this room that has been the benefit of Zenobia's leadership and her advocacy for us in the community. So thank you, Zenobia. And 5 years with the Kent Chamber. Can we please celebrate that this morning too? So thank you for all that you do. Congratulations on 5 years. And it is just an absolute delight to get to be here in this role with these amazing women today on the panel. It's also so great to be in this room with all the energy here and be with all of you amazing women, and I think a couple brave men I saw here too. So shout out to the brave men who are here to champion with us today. So we're going to get started, and I think that I love how Sherry set us off with work-life acceptance, because when I was talking to my mom yesterday on my walk, after work, which now is not dark, which I love, I was telling her, I've got to get up early, I'm going out to Kent and doing an event, I'm moderating a panel on work-life balance, and she just laughed at me. She said, "Someone wanted you to do that?" Well, apparently it looks like I have some bit of a work-life balance, but I think we all know that that's really not happening in our lives enough. And so what I'm excited about today is to get to talk with these very accomplished women about the strategies that we employ to make it through. And I think that we need to do more than make it through. I think we need to work on really embracing that balance so that we can live fulfilling lives. And, and I think I'm really inspired by what Sherry just said. I'm just going to be looking for those moments of fulfillment and things that serve me, and not reach to do everything in every way and be everything to everyone all the time. So in the spirit of that, I'd love to just, I think we've got a couple mics that we're going to have to share and pass down. But first, I'd like to start off by just inviting our panel to do a quick introduction. Please just tell us your name and a little bit about yourself. Take about a minute.
Hi, my name is Kavai Kaneli'i. I am a nurse. I work for Valley Medical Center. I support the hospital's community outreach efforts. So I spend a lot of time networking and finding ways to impact health equity for our community. I am co-chair for the hospital's Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee, and I do a lot of employee recognition-based work. So I've been at the hospital for 6 years, and I'm really honored to be here.
Good morning, I'm Kirsten York. I am the CEO of Multi-Service Center that serves South King County. I served and worked at a sister organization south of us for 15 years and really have enjoyed settling in the new organization after we had our CEO retire, who left a beautiful legacy of work and service in our community.
Hi, everyone. I feel like I should stand up. So in the back, Yoshika Harden. I'm the president of Renton Technical College in Renton. And I'm in my second year presidency there, but my 23rd year working in Washington State Community Technical Colleges in just different roles. So thank you for allowing me to sit on this panel.
Well, since Dr. Yo stood up, I have to choose the president of the college I'm going to. I am a student at Renton Technical College in bachelor program. I'm for a network engineer. So I have a career shift early on, like in 2018, because my son was born and he got sick. So I went to Renton Technical College and find support. And now my career has shifted. I have so much opportunities and I want to share this with you ladies.
I love that you were standing because my name is Trish Tatar and I am actually a body language strategist. What I do is I help you with your body presence, being confident when you're doing speaking engagements, networking, your introduction, and your elevator speech. What I help you do is align your intentions, your purpose, and your goals, and making sure that the communication in your physicality and in your messaging are both aligning. I'm also a life coach, and I specialize in confidence and power building, helping women power shift. I did a big power shift myself. I was a realtor for 30 plus years, and at the age of 61, retired and started a brand new career, and it's never too late.
Thank you, ladies. If we can get the mic back down to this end, I'm going to start with Kavai. Okay, hi. And I think, how many compliments on your earrings did you get today? Because they're gorgeous.
I think it was 7 so
Seven?
far.
Yeah. So, Kavai, as a nurse and an advocate for those who are underserved in our healthcare system, you've certainly answered the call to serve the community, and I think we can tell that you are a giver. How do you do the work that you do while maintaining your own well-being and staying true to professional and personal boundaries?
Yeah, I think it's not a secret that people who tend to gravitate toward the healthcare field are often natural caregivers. It unfortunately also often means we're not as great at caring for ourselves and advocating for ourselves. So for me, it's not so much how do I meet challenges and demands, because I'm gonna find a way to meet them, but how do I not drive myself into the ground while doing it? So I think it feels really simplistic, but one of the biggest things I've done that has benefited me has been to learn and understand where that drive to people please has come from for me. And I do that through therapy. So it's, as an example, I grew up with a lot of fear around loss. When I was quite young, I lost all 4 of my grandparents, I lost my father, and I lost one of my best friends. And that fear kind of drives me to want to people please because I want to make people like me and I want to make them happy so that they stick around. And so acknowledging those things and acknowledging the kind of messier parts of who I am and embracing them and showing them love makes it easier for me to say no when I need to, because it takes away a lot of that shame and fear around this drive to say yes all the time to everything. And it makes it easier for me to set boundaries because at that point, then I believe I'm deserving of them. And it makes it easier for me to recognize when I'm not, or when I'm working against my personal values out of fear so that I can do something about it. So it's really, for me, about not just embracing those messy parts of me, but acknowledging them and showing them love so that in those moments where they surface, I'm not shaming myself or blaming myself for not feeling like I'm doing enough, which I suspect is something many of us in this room feel all the time. And then, the more I do it, the more it becomes my automatic first response to care for myself or advocate for myself instead.
I feel that people pleasing inclination. I feel that a lot. I think a lot of us can relate with that. How has your inclination to be kind of a people pleaser influenced your approach to leadership and advocacy, and especially as you're addressing healthcare inequity and promoting diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, my role in leadership has really, I think it actually helped to drive me to prioritize these things now. I've been a nurse for 6 years. I've been in a leadership role for 4. And in the very beginning, I felt like the world's biggest imposter. I'd only been a nurse for 2 years, and in the nursing world, you are still very much a brand new baby nurse. You don't know a lot at that point. And then I was in a leadership role, and I'm a fair bit younger than many of the leaders in my organization. I have a lot less experience than many of my colleagues, especially back then. And once again, in this leadership role, I'm in this environment where not a lot of people look like me. So in the beginning, my first year or so, I really got taken advantage of because I didn't think my voice mattered. I didn't feel like I had a right to speak up when something felt wrong. I didn't feel like I had a right to say no when I was feeling overwhelmed, and I felt really powerless. So it took a pretty egregious act for me to learn how to advocate for myself and learn to speak up. And not just that, but learn that not only does my voice matter, but as an underrepresented voice, it's even more crucial that I use it when I can. I'm a young woman of color in this really large organization filled with primarily older white leaders. And so since then, I've spent a lot of time not just learning how to advocate for myself, but how to advocate for others in my organization, particularly underrepresented communities, and our really diverse patient population. Valley serves a really large swath of South King County, which is one of the most diverse cities in the state. And, I do equity diversity work at Valley. I'm part of the Kent Chamber DEI committee because this work has changed my life and has given me a sense of belonging I didn't get to feel growing up. And so I can't think of anything more rewarding than having the opportunity to continue to teach and advocate on these topics, and hope that somebody else like me has the opportunity to find their voice as well.
Thank you. I'm gonna move on to Kirsten. Kirsten, you have a really big job. You do, and you are leading a significant organization that demands substantial commitment and dedication to both your team and the community. Can you share a little bit about us how you personally manage a healthy work-life balance amidst all of those responsibilities?
Yes. I really resonated with our speaker this morning who said work-life balance acceptance. And I think I have moments where, some days I'm a really great CEO and I'm not my best mom to my kiddos or a best friend. Some days I show up as a really great mom and I'm not a great CEO. And so it's an acceptance of I need to show up as my best self in whatever situation I'm experiencing in that day. So it's a balance, consistent balance over the days, right? So never striving for perfection, but just doing my very best in each moment. I feel it is crucial and important. I follow what gets scheduled gets done, right? So I schedule time for myself and I schedule time for the things that are important to me. A really critical, phone time with friends, or moments where I can take a breath in between meetings, or moments where I'm, showing up for my kiddos and it's blocked on my calendar and I show up fully. So it's important for me to be 100% in whatever moment I'm in. If I'm doing CEO work or I'm doing work in my team, I show up that way 100%. If I'm home with my kids or I'm out at a soccer game, that's my role. And so I really try to block my brain and block my life into who I am in that moment. It is so difficult. And so I love surrounding myself with other people who support me in that goal and challenge me when I'm not showing up that way, and try momentarily to find joy as I walk through my days and work.
I love that. And I think that it made me think of last night. My quality time with my 12-year-old son was reading him these questions and practicing for today, and and then seeing his response. And Kirsten, your next question, he said, how would somebody answer that question? So it's I did not do a good job of blocking out family time last night, but we did have some time together, and he does think this one's a tough one, so just warning you. So you have a team of 100, and MSC serves over 42,000 individuals annually. As a leader, how do you promote a culture that not only values and actively practices and integrates work-life balance amongst your team and the people you serve? And how do you believe that this culture impacts your effectiveness as an organization?
Yeah, big question. So one of the first things that came to mind when I was answering this is how I model this for other people. So I think we've all been in situations where we have a role model or a leader or a parent or a grandparent that says, you need to do the following things, and then they don't do it themselves. It's really difficult to be like, that makes no sense. So I have to model what I hope to instill in my team, right? So if I'm going to show up at 8 and I say, I'm not taking phone calls before 8, you better believe that I'm not taking phone calls before 8. If I'm going to ask them to be off on vacation and not answer their emails, I am not answering my emails on vacation. So it's important that if it's a value that I align with as a leader, that I can show up in that way. And when I can't, I say, this is really important to me that you are taking good time for yourself. I have to answer this email today, but I'm going to go to the beach tomorrow and not answer. So I think first things first was modeling. I think the other thing is how we engage and speak about the work that women do. So talking about gaps in resumes not being a concern, right? People are caregiving, people are taking breaks to raise their families, they're caregiving for their elderly parents. Those are exceptional skill sets that we should hire for and embed in our hiring practices. And then in policy, making sure that you have policies that value time off, value flexibility, value tenure. We've implemented new sabbatical policy at our organization. People need breaks, and doing service work is exhausting and it takes a lot of yourself. So how do you instill flexibility? How do you instill health and well-being in the work that you do? And you just got to put your policies where your values are and really show up that way. We are talking about how we create thriving wages, not just surviving wages, so that our staff are experiencing robust moments of joy and stability for themselves, so they're not engaging in our work as staff who are also qualifying for our services. So really being clear about, we need to pay people well. We pay them well so that they can show up in their lives holistically and systemically and be, whole and joyful. So centering well-being for myself is centering my well-being for our team. And then as it impacts our culture, we know that well-resourced, well-rested staff are the best folks showing up for the work that we do. The work at MSC is very crisis-oriented. People are experiencing a lot of secondary trauma. You can feel that. And it is so important that we're doing everything we can to create a thriving workplace so that our staff show up for their clients in the best way, right? So if you're not feeling centered and stable and sustained yourself, you're not going to offer that to someone else. And I think it's something that we have to consider is how do we create that culture and then work on, embedding it in everything that we do.
Thank you. And thank you for leading the way on that. I know we're a nonprofit. Nonprofits are often the guiltiest of this culture of give, ask of our employees. And so I appreciate that you guys are setting that tone and that example for other nonprofits, because I think we have a lot of work to do there. Dr. Harden, can you share a little bit with us about how you managed to find equilibrium between advancing your career and also nurturing your family life?
Well, it's so funny because this morning I was like, I told my husband, after that, I'm going to go to campus because I wasn't on campus yesterday. I don't know what that meant. And then I was like, why do I need to go today? Because my sister's in the hospital. I need to go pick her up. So it's just those weird conversations that you have. I think for me, it's been different at different points in my career. When my kids were younger, I had a lot more I prioritized work a lot more because I was building my career and I was very ambitious. And so there just were a lot of field trips I didn't go to, so looking back now, I'm trying to make up for some of that time because I have more capacity. But what I realized was the problem wasn't work and family. I think for me, I realized I was spending a lot of time and energy trying to manage people's perceptions at work. And as a Black woman, it was very energy intensive because I'm very aware of the dominant stereotypes associated with Black women in the workplace, especially when I was a new professional, and they're largely negative. And so I was doing a lot of things to mitigate for that, what could happen. So a lot of self-policing around my tone. I'm a very direct communicator, so that would land on people in the wrong way. People thought I was mad. I was like, I'm actually not mad. I'm like, this seems crazy to me. Like, you said that's a good idea, and then everything you said after that is bad. It actually points to it being a bad idea. So why wouldn't you just say, I don't think it's a good idea? So just trying to get different communication styles. And it was really like other men of color, colleagues of color, particular men of color, that helped me, because I realized I was spending a lot of time feeling bad and worried, like, oh, it was my meeting and we ran out of time. I had to cut so-and-so off. And then I would start talking to my male colleagues, like, do you ever feel bad when you go home about like work and a meeting? And they're like, no. And I was like, no, like, really, don't you ever feel bad? Like, you had the meeting, but then you had to cancel it, or something happened, and then so-and-so, like, well, no, like, my kid got sick, I had to go home. So it just really helped me see in a different way that the way I was socialized as a woman and a Black woman was much different than the way they were in this context. So that, I always tell people I got a lot better at my job when I stopped trying to manage people's perceptions. And that is my best advice. Try it out in low stakes things, don't, go ham in like a big thing, but it's like really a practice. And so for me now, I just feel like stand in my own integrity, admit when I make mistakes, don't be a jerk. Like, that's what I try to do every day. But I think one of the sayings I have is like, be a boss at work and a baby at home. So apparently these great skills in the workplace don't translate that well for my husband. And go figure, right? So he'll tell me sometimes, like, you do know that I'm not on your team. You do know that I don't report to you. And I'm like, what? You don't? He's like, no, I have my own full-time job. But he'll say, like, when you pull into that driveway, you are not like Dr. Yoshika Harden, president of Renton Technical College. And so I've really been working on that in the past couple of years, because it can be all consuming for me, because I like what I do. It's a helping profession. The need is always there. I want to take care of faculty and staff and students. So I don't need to be a boss at home, and that I have a partner, I can just chill out. I need that downtime. So I think I'm doing pretty good. I did a check-in the other night. He was like, but I was like, really? I'm being so much nicer. He's like, really? It's like, yeah. But for that, some of that means like being more present, because, I'm always checking my email, or just remembering things he'd already told me in passing. A lot of times I'm like, oh, do you have any meetings today? And he's like, yeah, I told you yesterday. As such, so I got to pay attention. At work, I try and talk openly about my own stressors in my life if big things are going on, because I feel like that creates capacity for other people to talk about, if they want to, what they're going through. Right now, my sister is dying of cancer, and that's going to change how I'm at work. And I don't want people to think that it's because of them, So I'm comfortable with that. Not everyone's comfortable with that. I also just tell people everything can't be urgent. Like, we can't operate in that context. Like, we got to stage out our work. And a leader's hardest decision is what not to do. Right? That is, for me, like, what not to do, especially when you're trying to galvanize resources and do all of that. So, like, for me, I do decline events. I'm an extrovert. I like to be out and about, but I realize, I can't do that all the time. I need to be at home too, for me, but also to just be with my family.
I thought I was on a boat for a second here during your comments, because the whole room was doing this. Like,
be a boss at work and a baby at home.
Thank you. Celine, so you've recently made a career transition, which I think can be a really overwhelming and challenging undertaking for anyone under any circumstance. Can you share with us some of the strategies that you employed to maintain balance when you took on a career shift, especially in the midst of navigating your child's health crisis?
I'm going to stand up for this one. I feel more comfortable standing up. So thank you for the question. So, I'm actually still in learning progress on how to balance everything. I'm pretty new into this, let's say. So after when my son was born, he was sick. He was contracted with bacterial meningitis. So he was died twice and survived twice. Sorry. Every time I talk about him, I get a little emotional. So, when you look at the little dude trying to survive, he was just 3 days old. He was 28 weeks. So it's changed something in you as a mother. Not just like your son is born, your son was striving to live. I was a workaholic before anything, before my son. I was crazy about my career. I was in law field. I was a great legal advisor for this international company, right? But at that moment, when I look into his eyes barely opened because premature and he was super sick. But right at that moment, I know something have to change. I have to step back. I evaluate my situation. So I reach out to my company and say, what can I do that give me some time to spend with my son other than maternity leave? Maternity leave is what, 3 months? It wasn't enough, not for my son, So they pulled strings for me. They did leave of absence, family leave, all of those. So I was able to be on this leave for 1 year. But at the end of the day, I resigned from that job. A great job, a great pay that I built for 22 years, just for my son. So then opportunity arose. I went to Renton Technical College, just finding ways to start new career, finding opportunities to be home and my son a little bit more. So when I went to Renton, I have found the support there. They create like a very diverse environment. We have students that we share, we single mom, we mom with a bunch of children, and also, sorry, I have to look at my note. When I cried and I got like all emotional. So they support and they help me like identify what my priorities are. That's the first class we take at Renton. Like the first thing you need to learn to prioritize. And that's really helped me to be who I am today. That helped me to even like organize my time, schedule my day-to-day life. I do small things just like Sherry mentioned. I schedule time to take a nap every day. As soon as I got off from work at 3 p.m., Mama got a nap for 30 minutes. I need that. And then I spend time with my son. So to me, to balance everything is I set a clear boundaries. That clear boundaries is because of my son, I need to put him first. It's just him and I. So that clear boundaries has to be created. The communication with work has to be open. They need to know what I'm dealing with. Like they need to know my son's situation. If anything happens, if there's any way that I have to step away from work, I can tell them I can work from home. I need to know that every single job I search or every opportunity I take, it can be flexible. So I would have opportunity to balance life as a mom, as a student, as an employee to my company.
Thank you. And thank you so much for sharing this experience. It's so important that you are willing to share this with other working women. And I think we all struggle to balance that and prioritize our family. And the more that we can normalize that making choices for our family is something that we can prioritize and we can do. And you made a very brave decision also to switch careers and prioritize your family at this time. And I can't thank you enough for sharing this because we need to hear it and we need to talk about it out loud. So thank you. Trish, thank you. You've been waiting very patiently down there. I'd love to know, as a woman who's achieved success in different roles in a variety of different industries, can you share with us a little bit about how your core values have guided your career decisions over the years and your strategies in those varied roles?
Hello again. I am going to stand up. First thing I want to say, because these women are beautiful, they're great, they're smart, they're intelligent. And as women, we all are. And I'm going to ask you as women to start doing one thing. Stop apologizing because you can't do everything. I want you to think about it. It's like men don't apologize. They don't apologize that they can't do anything. I've been having a lot of conversations with women lately about male energy and female energy. And I'm not against men. I'm single. And if you know anyone that's, from 55 to 65, give them my number. One of the things that helps is finding your authentic voice and who you are authentically. That was a big shift that I had in my life at 61, realizing that real estate was taking up all my time. My time was not my own. I didn't own my life. My life owned me. And I made a decision of giving up a big, huge 6-figure salary and started asking my questions. And it started with my core values. What were 5 of my personal core values and 5 of my business core values? Which of those core values intersected each other? And I picked out 3 to 4 core values. I only say yes to things that align with my core values. I'm an entrepreneur woman. I'm not an 8 to 5, 9 to 6 person. So when starting this new career as a body language strategist and an empowerment and confidence coach, I had so much information coming from so many people that wanted to help me that it became very overwhelming. And what happens often when we get overwhelmed? We kind of stall. We have to sit down and get ourselves together. And I had to realize I needed to look at the information that people were giving me, what aligned with those core values. Reminding myself that no was okay. And a kind way to say no, and I love this because you've used the word capacity 2 or 3 times, and being able to explain to people, I'm sorry, I don't have the capacity for that right now. I'd be happy to check in with you next quarter to see how I might be of assistance or how I can be able to take that in. We take so much on our own plates all the time. And all we really want to do is step into our greater selves. And that is also having conversations. I coach a lot of women that don't have 10 minutes for self-care. And when I start talking to them, I realize because they didn't have conversations with their family, with their husband, with their children, with their support system, saying, this is what I need for myself. Can you help me? We make up stories in our head the way we think they're going to answer, or they're not going to be able to survive without us. But having a conversation with your family and saying, I need 20 minutes once a week to go in the bathroom and not have anyone knock on that door and pour myself a bath, pour myself a glass of wine and relax so I can think, so I can process, so I can be better for you. When we have those conversations, it's going to be amazing how your children and how your husband will say, yes, we can give that to you. But we don't get what we want because we're not asking for what we need. We're too busy trying to be everything, and we can't. Give people the opportunity to step up and help you and assist you. It's a gift. It's a gift that we give to others to say, I need a helping hand. Can you be there for me? Can you have coffee with me? Can you watch my kids because I need to go for a walk? It's a gift that we can give each other. It's we as women, as tribe, helping each other. We all go through seasons when we're handling it great, and then we go through seasons we're not. So I kind of got off topic because I was listening to all these beautiful women and what they were saying, and it just hit me in a different way. And I just wanted to share kind of the notes that I said. I love the thing that setting our priorities and everything urgent. Every night what I do is I write down what worked that day, what went well that day, what blessed me that day. I write down the affirmations I need in my life at that moment. I don't have standing affirmations. My affirmations change because every day changes. And then I write down 3 things personal that need to get accomplished and 3 things that are business that I need to get accomplished. And I don't judge myself if I don't get it done. I give myself grace. It starts with you. Be your first client. Give yourself the grace, the understanding, the love, the care that you deserve. Start asking for it. As when I was a real estate agent with that 30+ year career, again, like I said, my life wasn't my own. And then making this choice to be a coach and a body presence, it's something totally new. And so when you work for yourself at home, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We could either do two things: ignore business, start doing laundry, dishes, the gardening, pulling the weeds, because usually it's fear, we're scared, we don't know the next step. Or you're working 12 hours at home trying to launch a new business. So I like the thing of time management versus energy management. So they say in some places that, our attention span is 20 minutes, 40 minutes, and some people say 90 minutes. So what I do, I know mine is 40 minutes. So when I was studying for all my certifications, I knew that I had 40 minutes of studying time before the letters started dancing around and I wasn't absorbing. And then I would get up and go for a 10-minute walk. I would maybe take the laundry out of the washing machine, put it in the dryer, and did something for 10 to 15 minutes, and then came back and found that my energy and my attention span was again there. So, Darren Hardy says 90 minutes, doing anything for 90 minutes, then step away. Especially when we're in the creative mode, it's really important for us to take those breaks. And I understand that's not for everyone that has an 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 job, but for you women entrepreneurs, this is a great way for you to manage your energy and then really show up for what you really need to do. And again, be choosy about what you do. You don't have to do everything that everyone is telling you to do to have success. You have to do the things that align with your core values, because when you come your authentic voice, you're going to attract business and people to you that align with your purpose, your goals, and your intentions. And that makes work so much easier for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish.
So we do have a few more questions for the panel, and I want to open it up to Q&A from our audience too. But first, I'd just like to open it up to our panelists for a conversation. If you have anything that you want to respond to, something that resonated with you from our other panelists, please share.
I just am really inspired by being around people who are inspiring, right? And I think it's something that we don't think about as far as our intentionalities, is like, who do we surround ourselves with? Who are our champions? We spend a lot of time championing other people, and in our roles, in our work life, in our home life, we are the cheerleaders and we are the people that people can depend on. But I think it's really important to consider who we can depend on ourselves. And I think some of the things that I heard that really resonated with me are around how we share our strengths. As a leader of a big organization, we talk a lot about collective leadership, that I might be a person with a title that has given me authority and responsibility, but I have a shared leadership team. I have a leadership team of 11 people who are brilliant. We have many of them here, and they have strengths that I don't have, right? And if I'm not good at something, they have some strengths and some skills that I can lean on, and that I am super excited to highlight and share with them. And if I can bring a strength to them and support them in their work and their roles, that's what I want to be able to offer to them. And even in my home life, like I really don't enjoy kids' birthday parties that are not my kids. So, fun fact, I don't love it. I don't love going. And so I'm luckily married to a man who was like super jazzed about taking my kids to birthday parties. And I'm like, I'll buy the gifts, I'll respond, I'll RSVP, but I just don't want to go. I just don't. And so I get to go for a walk or take the other kid to Target, and I'm like, yes, Starbucks, Target, that's my jam. This is his jam. So like, pick the things that you love and you want to do, and then decide that you have someone else in your life who could support you in that way, or just say no. Just say no, unapologetically, right? Like, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'll send a card. No, thank you. So I think just empower yourself around people who say yes, like, do that for you. What have you done for yourself today? What are you doing in this moment to enjoy your day? What are you doing in your roles to facilitate yourself and feed and nurture who you are?
Otherwise, we just do all the things for everyone else.
I think the two biggest things that stuck out for me, one was vulnerability. It's really hard to be vulnerable, but it's something I've been practicing a lot for several years, and it's never let me down. I've never regretted doing it. It's helped me build some of the best relationships in my life. It's helped me be better understood by the people around me and feel less like I have to keep going. Granted, I'm still doing it, but it does make the process easier. It makes it easier to talk about. It makes it easier for me to just kind of get through the day without feeling or being too hard on myself. And then also modeling. I think that's really important. It made me think of my boss, who is one of the SVPs of the hospital. So she has a ton of responsibility. And last week she took a sick day. She's been my boss for 3 years. I've never seen her take a sick day. And our whole team was like, is she dying? Like, is she okay? Wow. We were so worried about her. And so we talk a lot as a team about how we typically are very good with one another of making sure we take time off when we need to and we care for ourselves. And she's really good about telling us to do those things, but not maybe the best model in that realm. So we try to tell ourselves, do as she says, but not as she does. So I think modeling is also really important because it shows the people that you're leading that it is okay to care for yourself and continue taking time for you.
I want to expand a little bit on something Kirsten was just talking about and talk a little bit about mentors and our professional support groups, our personal support groups, and what that's meant to you. And I'll start with Dr. Hardin. If you want to talk about some of your mentors over the years and the people that you lean on. I know I've already mentioned one of mine today here, Zenobia. Another partner in my work at the Chamber is Samantha Late, sitting right up here. I wouldn't be able to do this without her. I think it's important to identify those people in your lives. And again, we can't do it alone, and we shouldn't. So love to hear a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think early in my career, I wasn't such a great networker. You know, even though I'm an extrovert, I'm always like, I don't know anyone. You know, I wouldn't. So it was one of my early bosses who's my mentor today, but she was my boss for a long time. One of the things she told me was, you know, to be in this profession, you do have to like people. And and I was like, I do like people. No, she was like, no, you do have. So, you know, I really had to work on that. And so that's been good. You know, Tony Castro, she was my vice president for many years. So she taught me a lot. I wouldn't be in these roles if it wasn't for her as another woman of color, a Latina, gay woman. You know, she just modeled really family. Her family was so important. So it just gave me room to prioritize some of my family work. One of the things I did want to say was just it's really important to understand the context and environment you're in and the culture, and if that's going to work for you. So I think a lot of times we try and adapt to the culture and it just might not be a fit. You know, I was at a college, I was at Bellevue College for 4 years, and Dr. Sheila Edwards Lang was coming in as the president at Seattle Central College, and there was a VP position there, and I went for that position, and it was like more work for less money. But I knew working for her, she would understand me, she would see me, she would support me. I wanted to support her, and that it would get me to my greater goal. So that was a hard leap to take because, you know, you have financial responsibilities, and how could I make a move where I was going to be making substantially less income? So I think that's really important I see people struggle in my field, whether go from higher ed maybe into the private sector, and depending will be much different. And I'm like, you know, our salaries can't compete with Amazon or other companies. And so they're not making a wrong decision, but sometimes it's just the culture, it's just not in alignment for them. So I think spending time, is this really gonna work for me? And what are my trade-offs gonna be? And I think mentors can really help mirror, you know, things that I thought about myself that, and my mentors would be like, well, you struggle with ambiguity. And I was like, no, I don't. I was like so offended. Like, I'm all good. And then, you know, a day later, I was like, oh yeah, she's right. So just being able to, you know, like hear that like they tell you, is this working for you or is this not working for you? And you know, my first mentor was my grandmother, who had a third grade education and had to leave, was forced to leave school so she could work in the fields. And she was the one, even though she never got to have formal education after third grade, she was always the one that just pushed education. So, you know, we all have our, you know, we stand on the shoulders, and our ancestors are the people in our network. So those have been the important things for me.
Thank you. Celine, I'm curious, how have you built and leveraged networks for support and growth and resilience over the last few years?
I got to stand up again. I don't know what's wrong with me. So during my transition from, you know, working with this private company and then going to be a student, I find support through college, really. RTC has provided me with so many things that I can just jump on it and take that opportunity and run with it. You know, we have support groups for moms, single moms, and I believe we try to work on, like, you know, maybe a daycare for mom with young children. Yeah. So and also, you know, I got a chance and opportunity to work with RTC as an employee there as well. So before I jump on board with them, I studied their culture and values, and then I checked would there's a flexibility in workplace for me, you know, because I have to check on that. That's my clear boundaries. Like, I'm not gonna let anybody take that away from me. And when talking with RTC, talking to my, at the time, future boss, he offered that. He explained that that was going to happen, you know, even though I'm not expecting to work remote, because it was a work study before I become an employee. But knowing that they'll work with you, you know, so it made you feel great and want to be a part of that, right? So within the support that RTC give, they give me growth, give me future. And now I'm just moving on to, like, taking on internship at PACCAR as a system admin engineer. So this is all because of one college that offer you all support you get. You've got to take it. You have to, like, network, have people behind your back, have all support you need. Your boss, make him support you, you know? Make him your mentor. Learn something from them. Ask questions, get to know them, open your heart, they'll get to know you. So they will know what you like. They will know what you're good at. They'll give you a good suggestion. Just like you mentioned, the mentor, it's just a mirror to you. So I have been, every jobs I did at RTC as a teaching assistant, in CTS, College Technology Services, as a TSA, I have mentors in each job. Even as a student, I have 2 instructors as a mentor. So I'll just, you know, keep on going, and that's all my support. Start with RTC, this lady. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, so Trish, as somebody who recognized that you had a career that was no longer serving you, how do we recognize the early signs of burnout and address that in our lives, and then also within our team too?
Well, it was really funny because what it started out is I had a friend that was a life coach, and we went out for lunch one day, and I said, hey, let's go away for the weekend and let's break me down. Let's break me down, build me back up, and finally deal with those limiting beliefs so I can build a real estate team and have a business worth selling when I retire. 3 months into that coaching, a light bulb moment happened, and is I don't want to do real estate anymore. But you're really good at it. It's your passion. No, it wasn't my passion. I was just really good at it. I liked nurturing my clients. I liked helping my clients. And that was my heart. But it wasn't a business that I could take if I wanted to go retire in another state. You'd have to start all over. And I started thinking about what I wanted to do. And I had taken a class as a body language strategist, and I loved it because before I was a big, huge personality like this, yelling at me, hi, how are you? Like this. And so what I did is took all that big personality, that too muchness that a lot of people told me that I was, and I honed it in for the goodness of mankind. And I noticed that it changed my relationship with business people, with my peers, with my family, with my friends, but it also changed the relationship with me because I stepped into confidence. I didn't doubt myself anymore. I didn't question myself anymore. And as I progressed on that journey for that 1 year certification and continue to work with my life coach, and I said, I want to help other women find their light, shine it bright, and with no apologies. Because oftentimes we're told to live in this box of domestication. Society wants to fit us in this box. And you know, when you get, I can do this, I can do this, I got this, this was me. I can be a coach, I got this. Well, maybe you shouldn't give up real estate. Maybe you should do that part-time. No, you got this. You're going to stand on a stage in front of thousands of people coaching and teaching life's lessons. Maybe you better get a part-time job. And that is because that we're working with our past voice and trying to be our greater selves. And we always think our greater self is that person in the future. I am the person standing on that stage in front of thousands of people. I am getting a $7,000 check for that. The only difference between the person standing before you today and that person is I haven't booked the venue and I don't have the check in my hand. But that's how I show up. Stop waiting to step into your greater self and your authentic voice. It's a beautiful thing. And we don't need to, again, I'm going to say it again, apologize for who we are. But we're burned out half the time because we're doing something that does not bring us joy. But there's risk in that. I quit this beautiful 6-figure job. I sold my beautiful home so I didn't have to work for 3 years as I pursued all my certifications. And now I got to put a business together, get my clients, and start making some money. That's the reality. And there's fear in that. But there's so much great empowerment because I'm living my life on my terms. And that's harder when we're living 8 to 5 and 9 to 6 jobs. I understand. You just can't quit. You have commitments. And you might think, Trish, it's easy, you're single. But I don't have a husband. I don't have a second income. I don't have anything to fall back on. The only person I have to fall back on is myself. So Joyce Meyer says that we live this life, we're born and then we die, and in between is this dash. How do you want to live your dash? At the end of your dash, what is your legacy that you want to live? And that's the questions I started to ask myself. What was the legacy? So I challenged a lot of my clients, instead of going straight into your goals, that first you ask, what is the legacy you want to leave for 2024? When you look back at the end of the year, what is your footprint that you want to leave behind? The imprint on people that you want to leave behind. Mine was creating a safe place for others to abide in. Now I plan my goals. Now I come up with my word of the year. Now I come up with my hashtag of the year. They're aligned with my core values. I'm authentically myself. I don't apologize for that. And I keep on coming back to that because it's a great conversation out there about how much women apologize for ourselves. We apologize for strength because in the workforce, it's seen differently because I've been called that B word in business. And I've been said that I was too much because I didn't fit in your box. If my light shines and it makes you feel uncomfortable, that's on you. There are powerful women up here, powerful women in this audience. And again, that's my mission. That's my passion. I want you to shine your light bright because, as Marianne Williams says, when we shine our light bright, it allows others to shine their light. And there's a big thing of women between, especially the ages of 55 and 65, that are pivoting and getting out of certain jobs and finding the careers they want. There are women out there that are saying, it's okay for me to be vulnerable and do my job as a vulnerable leader. It's okay for me to show emotion that I care. That we want to do business the way women do business, and that's just fine with me. So keep doing that. Keep showing up. Let's make it a revolution, okay?
That's
Thank you. All right, I want to open it up to some questions for the audience. Do we have any questions for our panelists out there?
I don't really have a question. My name is Marcy Jones, and I am the founder and owner of Urban Connoisseurs LLC. And this is my next career. And just listening to all of you on the panel is so inspiring. And I just want to say, even if you don't feel it, you're on the right track, you're on the right path. And someone up there, I think it was Trish, said, give yourself grace. That is my motto. I am a part of the Grace Gang. And I love this whole, I was invited at the last minute, but obviously I was meant to be here. And it's early for me. I'm in the wine industry. We don't have to be up this early. So I had to set my alarm. But I am so glad I came. And what an amazing arena of women. You know, this is just so amazing. And listening to all of your stories, diverse, you know, but so powerful. Even if you don't feel that you have power, you have power. And you are impacting an entire room today that you probably have no idea of the impact and the inspiration that you all have given us. And I just want to say thank you for sharing your story with us.
Hi, my name is Shannon Jepson Hernandez. I own Back 40 Outfitters, Inc. Hey, friend, I saw you walk in. I was excited when I saw your name on there. I also teach at Mill Creek Middle School. I've lived in Kent 21 years. I'm a school teacher forever. And I literally joined the chamber 3 days ago so that I saw a Facebook ad for this event. And I sat there in this moment thinking, I'm a woman-owned business, single mom, school teacher, and everybody's lined up all day long for my help in every way, you know, because you see me all the time. And if you know me, you see me out in the community for everything schools. But for whatever reason, I don't get in my own line for my own self. And I said, wait a minute, I've owned this business for 5 years. How come I did not join the Chamber of Commerce? How come I'm not surrounding myself by other women who can inspire me and relate to the entrepreneur heartache, right? And so I took a day off to make it down here. And I know this is exactly where I was meant to be right here at this moment. But it just got me thinking, like, for all of you, we're not the only ones. I have a million friends that aren't entrepreneurs, but they feel the same way and they deal with the same stuff. And right. So it took a Facebook post for me to get on board here. But how are you getting other women on board here?
I try and do it through hiring. I sit on a lot of hiring panels in the final position. And anyone who asks me, hey, can we have a cup of coffee or can we talk more process? I always say yes. So, and I will make time for that.
So my question at really point blank, we're all ladies of a certain age here. So what would you then tell your 25-year-old self if you go back?
Prepare for menopause early. So that's what I have today.
We're laughing because I was shocked by the question. I would go back and tell myself that I could not outwork sexism, racism, society's expectations on women. I cannot outperform that. And if I do, if I had gone back, I would have said, I am credible and valued no matter what. I don't have to prove it to anyone else. I just need to show up as myself and be myself and value myself and then, do the thing, right? That's
really similar. You know, it was a little bit less time for me, and the 25 was 10 years ago for me. I think I would tell myself something really similar, and it's just that I don't have to earn love. I don't have to earn kindness. I don't have to earn being worthy of all of these things that I want. I just am exactly as I am, as who I am, just like all of us are. It's still something I struggle with every day, but I still work toward it, and it's changed my life immensely to just walk into a room and get to feel worthy because I know I am.
At 61 is when I changed my life. I'm 63 now. For anyone that's in their 20s and 25 or 30s, I don't want you to wait till you're in the last third of your life to do what you've been dreaming of, to do what brings your heart joy, that brings satisfaction to you. Stop doing what other people expect from you and do what you want for you. Don't have regrets. We don't get to make that time back up. And I know there's a lot of cultural things out there because I talk about it with my clients that there's, I have a friend that's a life coach, and the cultural expectations she has from her Filipino family that were moved over here, and she's first generation, and her kids, and what was expected of her. And she is now in her early 50s, finally doing what she wants to do and what was not expected. Her parents still don't understand, they don't get it, but she had to make peace with that because it's her life to live. Our parents got their chance. Other people get their chance. You only get one. So make it count.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question.
I don't have a question. I just really am blessed to meet Zenobia. How do you pronounce your name?
Zenobia.
And I'm not going to apologize. I lost my son, so I lost my memory. And so I had to go to Google, pronunciation. So if I forget, I'm not apologizing. I need to let you know my story. And I really want to thank each and every one of you. I need you because I've been looking for you, and I started a business back, and I'm going to be very back 20 years ago with no money, 4 kids, because they didn't have military help from my husband. So we had a split. I still have those clients that never had a business card. And I bought 4 houses helping women. Then I stopped that because I lost my husband over cancer. I didn't want to do it anymore. So I went with the county for 14 years. Thank God I got hurt, couldn't do the job again. I left Washington, came back, and John L. Scott, I love houses, I'm an investor. I met this young lady. And I am so grateful. Then I came here, and I met more ladies. Because I've been looking and searching, where do I find queens? All right. Oh, you don't have to ask me, am I going to join? And I'm going to bring somebody else along. I love networking. That's my passion. I love going into businesses. I love bringing people together. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem speaking one-on-one. But give me a crowd, I'm okay. Thank goodness for my mom in church made me sing, So I just thank you once again. I thank you, and I really thank you. And I'm looking forward to meeting and embracing you all again.
Thank you. Well, I can't think of a better way to end this discussion this morning. I want to thank our panel again, these amazing and powerful women, for sharing these powerful words with us today. I want to thank everybody here for showing up this morning and being here to engage with other women in our community, and for sharing your life experiences and being open in that way. And I want to thank Zenobia, the powerful leader that we have here in our community, for bringing us all together. Yes, let's stand up for Zenobia. Okay, yes, we're doing it. I want to say watch out Kent and watch out world, because we're all feeling something right now, and we're about to walk out these doors in a bit, and people are going to take notice. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you to our panel again.